PORSBR. That's PORSBR for 10% off of activelyblack.com. That's PORSBR, 10% off of activelyblack.com.
Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to a glorious episode of the Student Body Rights USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. I want to get two things real quick before I got my man Evan Desai come on to talk about some USC football. Shout out, because I am everybody. If you follow me on X, I guess it's called now. Everybody knows I'm Jamaican. Shout out to the reggae girls for going to getting to the Sweet 16. They play Columbia in a couple of days, so shout out to them, and shout out to our newest sponsor. So our newest sponsor is Actively Black. After you go to activelyblack.com, PORSBR is the 10% code for you to get 10% off of any apparel there. So if you're working out, if you're looking for some slides, you're looking for some shorts. Ladies, I know y'all be at the gym. The sports bras, they got them. They got all that stuff there. So Actively Black, 10% off. PORSBR is your key to that. Get some money off and get some really nice gear. The quality of the gear is unbelievable as well. So they had a whole Allen Iverson section and a whole Muhammad Ali section too. So they have that. They have that for all you folks out there. So Evan, welcome back to the show. Love having you on. How you doing today?
I'm sure, man. It's good to be here. There's a lot of realignment stuff going on. Obviously, it's been pretty entertaining to see.
Yeah.
And, dying to talk about it, honestly.
Yeah. So let's get started with that part of it as well too. So obviously, this is a situation here where USC the whole USC changed the game, especially with UCLA going to the Big Ten, right? They go into the Big Ten, and now, when you do something good, everybody wants to follow you and copy you. I get like imitation is the highest form of flattery here. So you have Oregon, you have Washington. It gives more of a West Coast feel for it. And this is going to get to, let's just be honest, this is going to get to NFC, AFC status here with SEC battling Big Ten. Maybe those two teams play for the championship down the road. But what are your thoughts about Oregon and Washington following suit with UCLA and USC?
I think it's interesting because, there's the whole situation with the way that they entered the Big Ten. They're only going to get half the money that USC and UCLA gets. But,
is that the cut? That's the cut? They got half of it?
Yeah, I'm pretty confused by that whole thing. But basically, what I'm taking from that is that Oregon and Washington – well, I'm taking a couple things from it. Number one, the Pac-12's media deal or lack thereof was just such a joke that Oregon and Washington just had to escape. Despite, in the past talking like they really want to stay in the Pac-12, which is another thing because, all those schools talk about they want to stay together and everything, and that obviously didn't happen, which is just kind of funny that USC got all the criticism for it, but now they're doing now they're trying to do the same exact thing. Like you said, it's a copycat type of situation here. And so that's a little weird, but, it is what it is. I think it's funny, honestly. And as far as just, when it comes to USC specifically, though, interestingly, it's only going to mean more money goes to them because, that Big Ten pie is getting bigger. Again, there's going to be more pieces to that pie with Oregon and Washington added. But, the money is going to be greater, obviously, and that's going to be distributed among at least the other 16 Big Ten teams the way it has. And, that's why, even some of the smaller schools in the Big Ten, the programs aren't really as good. They kind of really benefit from it, too, because, their pockets are going to be stacked. So, it was a pretty crazy week there. So I remember there was that one night when everyone thought, oh no, the Pac-12 is coming back to life. Let's do this. And then it fell apart again, just 10 minutes later, whatever it was. So it's been crazy, man, to watch.
Yeah, and the money situation just shows, like, I mean, that I guess when I saw the tweets about discount Oregon, that's what that meant. I guess I didn't realize that they were getting less money to come, but everything's falling apart in the Pac-12, and Klekoff, and I forgot that it was Larry Scott. Who was the commissioner before him? I forgot his name.
Larry Scott.
Larry Scott, right? And just him going on and on about, hey, Disney has money, all these places have money, and then at the end of the day, they don't have the money because ESPN they're firing everybody left and right. All these Disney is there's rumors about them being bought out and stuff like that. They've been losing money on their all their ventures as well too. So they should have jumped on it. Like, it seems like he was just sitting here like waiting for things to come to play in 2024, when he should have been kind of lining up that deal and trying to lure SMU and Texas and people like that to the Pac-12, and they just weren't able to do it. And it's it's a lot of good memories in this conference. I think the biggest one for me was watching Harbaugh and Harbaugh do his thing at Stanford and battling USC. That was always fun times. So many great players, so many great moments, but it's just really just kind of just embarrassing that those two guys, instead of hiring people who could really do the job, Evan, they hired guys who just wanted to collect a big check and have a fancy office.
Oh, no question. It's tough because the Klekoff hiring was obviously interesting because he didn't have football experience, and everyone said that he seems like a good candidate just because he seems very organized or whatever that whole thing was. I mean, I guess he seemed like a nice guy, whatever, and that's cool. But, one of the biggest mistakes of the Larry Scott tenure was that he didn't prioritize football enough. He was all about, tennis and water polo and swimming, all that. And that's all great. Like, I've covered some of those sports. I love all sports. But when it comes to college football, when it comes to college athletic departments, you really have to prioritize football, because football not only pays for itself, but it pays for everything else, and it adds more to what your athletic department is. It's what gives your athletic department life. It's what gives your conference life. So then when you go out and Larry Scott's finally gone, which is a great thing, and then all of a sudden you hire someone that has no football experience, you're kind of doing something similar. It's not the same, obviously, but you're not putting that emphasis where it needs to be. And you're not getting someone who is truly experienced specifically with college sports and specifically with college football, which is what you need to do to kind of dig yourself out of the hole. And, he didn't, then there was the whole thing about him wanting to stick together and him refusing to talk to the Big 12. Meanwhile, the Big 12 just kept going. They didn't think about the past. They didn't, feel sorry for themselves. They went out and they got 4 group of 5 teams that were pretty attractive. Now they ended up poaching Colorado, and that's kind of when that final domino just forced everything else to fall where it's gotten. And it just goes to show how proactive they were and how slow George Klekoff was to all this change, despite it kind of being right in his face with his top 2 brands leaving over a year ago.
It just made no sense. It made no sense. But I think people number one, football is king. Football is king in high school. Football and for sports, football is king in college football. And it doesn't mean that that they get away with everything. I mean, although in some cases they do, but it just means that when the baseball coach needs new nets and needs new bats and needs, some new state-of-the-art equipment, they're able to get it because the football team brought in that money. Whether it's polo, whether it's water polo, maybe the pool in the aquatics area needs a total revamping of it. That's where football comes in. Maybe education needs a new building. Football takes care of that. It's okay to just admit that they take care of all that stuff, and and just believe believe in that, go by that, and then take care of everybody's issues. And who knows? I mean, you to not acknowledge. I think this conference has some I guess say cojones to not just acknowledge the power of USC in that brand. They really had an issue with USC. I don't know what it is. They just want to show that they were better than USC for all these years, and they're not. and USC carried the water, and UCLA as well, because UCLA as well in basketball, especially basketball brings home a lot of money too. But it just makes no sense how they could just sit back and just say, "Oh, we're good. We don't even move. The whole landscape is changing around us, but we're just going to sit here and just not do anything." And they're going to pay the price for it.
No question. The thing that's interesting about it is if we really want to get to why the Pac-12 fell apart, there are so many reasons, obviously. But one of the biggest ones that happened initially was the Pac-12's response to the death penalty for the Reggie Bush situation. Because people always talk about, up until last year, the USC was irrelevant after Pete Carroll left and all those crazy takes. I'd like you to stop and think about maybe why that might have been. Were there some bad decisions on USC's part? 110%. Terrible. There were some really bad coaching hires in there. Really bad organization in general from the ADs of the past. And even I guess Mike Bohn even had a couple issues here and there. Obviously, he was kind of basically just ousted.
Yes, still not done because Mike Bohn is there, right? When was there?
But the Pac-12, not only the university presidents and athletic directors, all that, just the Pac-12 in general, the Pac-12's leadership did absolutely nothing to defend USC, to make sure what was right happened with USC, to point out that USC didn't do what they were getting accused of, and that Reggie Bush simply just took some money from somebody else who, what was it? He wanted to give him a car. I'm still so lost about what he did that was so wrong. That was nowhere remotely close to what's been happening in other schools, even some scandals that were happening around that time with Miami, for instance. He took some money to leave the school, not go to it, to leave the school. So what he was getting accused of, he did not do. What USC was getting accused of, they did not do. The Pac-12 sat back and laughed. And all the other 11 universities, I believe it was nine at the time, sat back and laughed. They watched it. They saw it as a huge opportunity to dunk on USC. But the reality is none of those programs have the capabilities to dunk on USC, as they proved for the next 15 years or whatever. Because sure enough, USC was the one the Big Ten wanted. USC is still the only blue blood in the conference, the only program that's even close to a blue blood as well. And they're the only relevant brand, they're the most relevant brand by a landslide. And even some of these other more powerful football brands that the Pac-12 has, like maybe Oregon or Washington, they didn't even qualify for the Big Ten originally. They wanted UCLA basketball over those two brands. So, they completely underestimated what USC means to the conference, what it means to college football. And they paid the price and they wanted to stick together, and they obviously couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, that point you brought up is a big one too, because really seriously, like USC themselves didn't even fight for it. They cashed those Pete Carroll checks, right? But they didn't even have the what's to say, hey, this is our school, this is our alma mater. Like, you're not gonna treat us this way. This is not right. They could have tried to do some litigation. They could do whatever they could, and they kind of betrayed Reggie in that moment, which was really sad, if you will. Let's just roll on to what's on the field now. I guess early on, Josh Henson was talking about the offensive line. They had a bad showing against a defensive line, which you can take a lot of different ways. I mean, they last year's defensive line, besides Thule, probably wasn't capable of giving them a bad day. But is there people are having a little bit of concern about the offensive line right now? What are your thoughts about that? I do believe it's a little early to be crying about the offensive line just yet.
Yeah, the reason I'm not crying about the offensive line just yet is because I know they're still working on a lot of things as far as kind of figuring out everybody's fit in this offensive line. And what I mean by that is obviously, we've seen, the recent reports of how it's going to be Jonah Monheim at left tackle. A lot of people thought Jared Kingston would be at left tackle. Kingston's going to be playing one of the guard spots, and then it's going to be down to Manuel Pregnon or Gio Quinones at the other guard spot. Like, things have been kind of shaken up a little bit differently than they would have. Of course, Jonah Monheim playing left tackle instead of Jared Kingston doesn't mean that, that doesn't give you an excuse for every single guy on the offensive line to struggle or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the order of how things are going to be lining up between all five positions on the offensive line has definitely changed. And there's just been a lot of turnover with that in general, just due to really starting with the Andrew Voorhees injury last year. But the thing about USC's offensive line last year was that even in times where they struggled to adjust right away to an injury or to, just a new combination of what the 5 spots are going to be, as they got more comfortable playing in that situation, they ended up getting better. Like, for instance, when who was it that went down? When Mason Murphy first had to play, I forgot who it was against. I think it might have been Fresno State. He really struggled. But then once he got more preparation playing and it wasn't just coming in a pinch and he got the opportunity to prepare during the week to play on Saturdays, he played a lot better. When Andrew Voorhees wasn't playing in the Pac-12 championship game and Brett Nealon then got hurt, they struggled. At the end of the game, they really struggled on the offensive line. Then when they played against Tulane, it looked better because they had more time to prepare. They weren't just being thrown into the fire in a random situation during a game. So just going to take some preparation with, the new spots being kind of configured on the offense line right now. Ethan White, obviously not being a part of the plans anymore, has definitely, taken a hit and caused different guys to line up at different spots. So we'll be fine. It's just really just about getting comfortable with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go crazy about it right now. I just think it's we can all just take a deep breath, and it's early, folks. And I know later this month we say it's early, but before it's time to play football because what is it? It's 20 some odd days, and then we'll be sitting here watching USC football. I will say, Alani Noah, a guy who it's early, but like people really are raving about what he's been able to do, which is really nice as well. And I am hearing from everybody, birdies everywhere, saying that even Caleb Williams has talked about it as well. Just a tremendous improvement from Mason Murphy this year. I mean, Mason Murphy is really pushing out. I mean, I know maybe some of the transfer might have thought, hey, they got like a easy, not easy, but like said, okay, I'm transferring to USC. They have some offensive linemen who wins the NFL or whatever. They got some movement going there, but I'm gonna come in and be good to go. But Mason Murphy's making it hard, but it's also a really good thing because let's be honest, you need as much depth as you possibly can because last year that was an issue, right?
No question. There's going to be offensive line injuries, at least one to really every college football program. It's just how it works. Even look at the best offensive lines, that always tends to happen. And I think that, again, Mason Murphy is an example for sure of last year who, when he was first thrown in the game, at left tackle, actually, he honestly looked, this is like a deer in the headlights. He had a tough time kind of picking it up right away. But as the season went on, he looked a lot better. I thought we saw a little bit of regression when he was in the game during the Pac-12 championship game. Well, not regression, but just wasn't as sharp as I envisioned that it would be. But then again, in the Cotton Bowl, I really felt the offense line as a whole looked a lot better. Obviously, the safety was bad, but to be fair, they wouldn't have been put in that situation if the special teams didn't mess up. And, for the most part, they looked a lot better, especially when you're thinking about Caleb Williams was still kind of hobbled a little bit in that game, and he seemed to get around just fine. I like what I saw from them. I think that's just a situation where, again, like just give these guys reps in this offense. There's been a lot of turnover with a lot of these offensive linemen because there's been so many offensive line coaching changes these past few years. And, going from Drevno to Clay McGuire, who's good, but, just a lot of turnover. Drevno, McGuire, now Josh Henson. It's a new offense, some new faces coming in from new programs. It's going to take a little bit of time to gel together. But the fact that we have heard good things from Mason Murphy is awesome because, that's a guy that USC signed out of high school, 4-star recruit, making moves to get better. That's what you want to see. And, that's a guy who I think when it comes to his body type and his play style could potentially play multiple positions on the offensive line as well when it comes to both guard and tackle.
Yeah. So I am not, I think this is a good staff. I mean, this is a good USC head coaching staff. I'm excited for them. I think a couple of things. One thing I think this whole thing with people just talking about Dante Williams, that he's just like a recruiter. He's not an actual coach. I just don't think I know he's a king recruiter. Like people love how much he can recruit, but like number one, where are you getting that from? Like people just that's how I know that USC is going in the right direction because you're getting this kind of foolishness from like everywhere. Like, oh, he's not really a good defensive backs coach. He's these guys when I watch press conferences and I see them they are preparing these young men for life in the National Football League. Like they really are. I mean, Josh Henson, but none of these guys listed on this staff, when they talk to the media, they talk. You look at them, and they're not. If they don't like what they see, they tell the players and they tell the media. Like they put you on blast. Like they don't care about it. Their best person is going to play. And I think that this whole thing about about Dante Williams is just a little ridiculous.
No, I do too, and I've seen it myself. There actually is a writer, a USC writer, actually, who started saying that type of stuff last year. I believe late in the season last year. I thought it was ridiculous then. I thought it was ridiculous when I saw a couple fans here and there saying it. I just think the narrative is ridiculous in general. You think he can't develop? Go talk to Mekhi Blackman. Go talk to a guy who just got drafted. And not a late round pick. He got drafted and he got drafted way above where he was supposed to.
Yeah. Well, what about Mr. Kalen Bullock? Does he play that defensive back? Oh yeah, he does. And where is he? He's gonna be like I had a friend of mine who went to a couple of USC games last year, and it texted me immediately during the game and was like, "Who's number 7, yo?" Like, and he's in the follow SC like that. And like when you stand out like that, I mean, I think you can even do some stuff where I can see him come at the line of scrimmage and blitz a little bit too. I'd get a little bit more creative. But hey, listen, I'm not gonna. I'll let Alex do the job now. Maybe I'll interview for it later if he doesn't get to come through. And then also people are criticizing for them not picking up Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coach and not picking up Jim Leonard as a defensive assistant. But whatever. People are gonna have all their things to say about USC. That happens. Let's roll to our good friends from Ducks, because the Ducks will be Ducks. The head coach is talking about Deion, the rumor that I had. Let's just see, because I know I sent it to you. I think if I could find that rumor, but there was a rumor about Dan Lanning that, according to sources, Dan Lanning wanted Oregon to stay in the Pac-12 to play inferior teams. When he heard Oregon was moving conferences, he was red with anger, knowing he had to play USC, Ohio State, and Michigan. He probably don't have to play all those guys in one season, but whatever, we'll see. Lanning feels his contract extension was used as a weapon against him leaving Oregon. Look for him to be on the move next offseason in search of less competition. So I'm not sure how. Listen, it's a source. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. But for him wanting to stay there, pad his record, beating up on the also who knows what's of the rest of college football, it's kind of not how you do things when you're supposed to be a big time program.
No, absolutely. And I don't want to immediately give that rumor full credibility.
It's a rumor. Yeah, it's a rumor.
Exactly. It's a rumor and we don't know. I guess what I would say though is he did definitely seem like he wanted to stay in the Pac-12 when Colorado left. He started talking mess about Colorado. What have they ever won? And it's just kind of funny when you talk to when certain people talk about what have you ever won? What have you ever won? Everyone has different definitions. And what I mean by that is, I'm just going to tell you right now, fans of every single blue blood program would wonder what Oregon has ever won. They would ask that question about Oregon. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to say that, Colorado is a better football program than Oregon. But what I'm just saying is you kind of you're saying, what has Colorado won? Colorado, I have at least seen win a national title before.
Yes.
I've never seen that from Oregon. I've seen them get close a couple of times for sure. And again, I'm not trying to say that Colorado is a better football program. I'm not trying to say they have a better brand right now in the sense that Oregon obviously has Nike. But, the thing is, a lot of these coaches are really threatened by Deion right now. And the two of us have talked about how we think some of the Deion hype is a little bit kind of off the rails, honestly. But, we like what Deion seems to be building over there.
Yeah.
And it's just, when the Big 12 won in Colorado, I feel like that was a tipping point for a lot of people, and just the whole oh my God, they're 1-11 and everything. But that's why Deion is so valuable. That's why it's such a big deal and why Colorado wanted him so bad and why they took that so seriously, because everyone wants Deion. The conferences want Deion. it was a good fit for them to go with the Big 12. Colorado has had success in the Big 12 before. I believe that was where they won the national title.
Yeah.
And so, I just, if you're going to talk like, oh, what has Colorado won? Why did you then leave? You left all of a sudden too. You a week later, whatever, decided to leave. So it's a little bit awkward. It's a little odd that he went at Colorado like that and then dipped himself after, he seemed to really want to stay together. The whole conference kept talking about how they want to stay together. I just don't get it. They just kept all complaining, and it is what it is. I think they showed their true colors there, and we'll see how it goes. But I will say, I do not think that Oregon will want to play 6 different blue bloods or whatever they're going to have coming in coming into the Big Ten, because especially if they can get Penn State and Nebraska firing all cylinders, that's going to be a gauntlet. So we'll see how it goes.
A couple things before I let you go. One thing is, listen, I have been, and I used to live on the East Coast, and I have definitely been in some cold weather, some wind chill factor, what I'm saying, ice storm, my car spinning in the middle of the highway, terrified. But this idea that Michigan, Ohio State, Northwestern, all these, like, they are as if they've never lost a home game in cold weather. We got to stop with the cold. Like, one of the reasons why Lincoln Riley is so revered as a head coach and a play caller is because he's a play caller who wants to run the football. He's not trying to go all air raid. In his version of the air raid, he runs the football. He's not trying to just throw the ball 50. I mean, if the game dictates throwing 50 times, okay, fine. But he really wants to be balanced, and he really wants to run the football, and he wants to, use the running game to get big plays down the field. I mean, if you can run the ball, running the ball equals it levels the playing field in any situation. So this idea that they're not going to be able to win in cold weather ever is just like, this is the wrong coach, I think, for that.
No doubt. I mean, the play style on offense is certainly, one that can cater towards playing in the cold like that, playing in a ground and pound type of game.
It travels.
No, yeah, without a doubt. And, I'd also want to ask them, if USC can't play in the cold weather, and you've never lost in the cold weather to an LA team or whatever your whole thing is, why exactly is all of your records so damn bad against USC? I just want to know. Why
I gotta fight you. You know how I want to give a shout out to is what's his name? I gotta find. He's a great USC follow. Fight on Rusty, the Arrogant Nation. He has the dude has guns loaded with information to go to go against anybody. And he did have a tweet that showed USC's record against Michigan over the years. But I can't find it right now. But it was kind of a breakdown. I'm saying to myself, dude, like all these games weren't in the Rose Bowl, right? They couldn't have been all in the Rose Bowl. Like, they're all throughout history playing, USC in the Rose Bowl, playing USC at Michigan, USC at Ohio State, USC at all these different places. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. It drives me crazy. We got a lot of freshmen on this team. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of Jacoby Lane touching the sword, going across the street. Dude, I do not. Who that? Dude, I think the only guy who might be able to cover him is our linebacker who's 6'7". Like, the guy is a humongous individual. Like, they have the variety of weapons that they have on offense is going to be crazy. What are your thoughts about a couple of these freshmen, and who do you think? Who do you think is going to have? I always get this question, like, who do you think is going to have more of an impact, Deuce Robinson or Zachariah Branch?
I would say, well, first of all, about Jacoby Lane, I just want to say the craziest part about that is he's the worst receiver we got in this last class. That's how goddamn loaded this class is, especially when it comes to the receiver position, and especially if you count Deuce as a receiver.
And that's not a knock.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, that's the crazy part about it. He's so good, and he's technically the worst one. That's why Oregon wanted him. But I would say the bigger impact that between Deuce or Zachariah Branch would have to be Deuce, just because I think that he'll get more looks, he'll get more opportunities. I personally am not a big fan of USC's tight end room without the 2 freshmen that they brought in. I don't believe in them or don't think they could be any good. But I just think that bringing in Walker Lyons and bringing in Deuce Robinson really catapults it to another level, especially Deuce, just because I think he can play right away. And just the more you watch Deuce, when you watch his huddle and things like that, you just realize he is like a Drake London type. And that's really could thrive in this offense. We've seen it before with Mark Andrews.
No question.
So I think that he's going to be that type of player, at least at some point. And it's just crazy because his skill set is so refined and so ready right now due to just his insane athleticism and really great size and strength. I think he can play really well right away. And I mean, Zachariah Branch is an unreal talent. He's probably a better overall talent than Deuce Robinson. That's probably why he was rated on some of the recruiting sites, obviously higher than him. And he was the number one receiver recruit in the country. But I just think he's got so many guys that are also really good. People forget how good this receiver room is. I mean, Brendan Rice, I don't even know if he's going to start. And he's obviously a dog, and he played that way for the last two games of the season, which were the Pac-12 Championship and the Cotton Bowl. You know, he really showed who he was in a stage with some really bright lights. I mean, Josh Washington's going to be back. He's obviously really good. Mario Williams, a ton of untapped potential. He's already shown a lot. You're bringing in Dorian Singer. He's great, you know, and he was great at a program that isn't really known for receiver play. So, you know, there's just so many guys for Zachariah Branch to jump. I think that Deuce Robinson will be able to have a better impact year one.
Yeah, should be interesting there. I mean, it's just that when they I think USC put out a video of him running, and then they show his miles per hour.
Yeah.
And then his miles per hour was comparable to Tyreek Hill and players like that. Jesus, like all I can think about is that I don't remember this play. They ran a little RPO play, but then they threw the ball in the Arizona game. They threw right across the middle and a seam pass to Kyle Ford, and Kyle Ford almost got caught. I mean, I'm like, it almost got Ford. He got caught at like the 10-yard line. Like plays like that are going to be. You have to account for his tremendous speed. So I just can't wait to see what this offense can do. And obviously the defense has to do their job, but the defense should and will, in my mind, get a lot of opportunities to rush the passer. How many sacks can they get? Because if this offense gets going and they get up by a couple scores, they're going to force you. Kind of like Kansas City Chiefs, they force you to score points to kind of hang around. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, Evan, thank you for joining us here on the Student Body Right USC podcast. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. No question about it. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget, 10% off. Activate Black, activateblack.com. 10% off. Get your stuff. All right, y'all. Fight on.
Right on. Appreciate it, Dwayne.
Peace.